Junior banking jobs are some of the most grueling jobs out there, but they carry a lot of prestige and, historically, a lot of pay. As costs rise in financial centres like London and New York, though, life for junior bankers is becoming harder than ever, and disillusionment is rife. Find out why on the Coffee Run. This week's top story from the FT is around the reaction of UK corporate professionals to the Labour government's recently released budget. It's gone down like a lead balloon, to say the least.
Anna, a 24-year-old lawyer at a top firm earning roughly £150,000 per year, said she was particularly disappointed with the freezing of tax brackets, which she said significantly impacts her ability to build savings. Steve, a consultant in London, suggested that the policy affects those who've risen from working class backgrounds more, saying that those who inherit a lot of their wealth have come out of the budget unscathed. One vice president at Morgan Stanley told us that he's considering leaving the UK because of its crackdown on high earners. He said the current system isn't very beneficial to UK natives, which is why only 10 to 20% of people in the UK's investment banking scene are actually British. These young corporate professionals have given themselves the acronym of HENRYs, meaning high earner not rich yet. Users of a Reddit group dedicated to the Henry community suggested that £50,000 is now the optimum pay for a job in London. They say someone earning £125,000 will only end up netting roughly £15,000 more, despite their jobs usually being more conducive to becoming divorced and clinically depressed. Are things much better in New York? Seemingly not. You need only look at the recent New York mayoral election in which socialist candidate Zoran Mamdani came out the victor. Mamdani performed particularly well among people who don't have the lifestyle they'd expected: renters, young people and the highly educated, the archetype of the junior investment banker. One of Mamdani's policies is a rent freeze, welcome among bankers living in Manhattan and the surrounding areas where prices are extortionately high. A US-based Henry in financial services on Reddit said she's paying $4,700 per month for a one-bedroom apartment, while others say their rent is as high as $6,700 per month. The purchasing power of junior bankers today is almost incomparable to bankers before the financial crisis. A document from Lehman Brothers in 2007 that leaked earlier this year broke down pay for all of the associates in its investment bank at the time. On average, they earned $311,000 in total compensation, which, adjusted for inflation, would be almost $470,000 today. In our most recent compensation survey at eFinancialCareers, associates at Tier 1 investment banks earned a total compensation of just $209,000, less than half what Lehman's bankers were earning. The Lehman document said the bank quote-unquote paid competitively with our peers on the street in order to protect our talent, implying bankers elsewhere were similarly well compensated. These days, the finance professionals earning that kind of money work at hedge funds and algorithmic trading firms. As costs have mounted for today's junior bankers, their workload has ebbed and flowed. After a viral survey in 2021 of Goldman Sachs juniors showed they worked 100-hour weeks on average, various banks placed hard limits on their working hours. Last year, though, juniors said they were easily back to working 100-hour weeks. Job security is also at risk for bankers in more expensive cities, especially amid the rise of AI. JP Morgan, famously, is planning to reduce its junior headcount with AI and shift swathes of the remaining bankers to lower-paying cities outside the US and UK. One banker in 2023 told us that being based in London means you always have a target on your back from a cost-cutting perspective. It's not just full-time employees subjected to these long hours. Interns at one European bank told us they were working 100-hour weeks during their 2025 summer internships, only for the bank to declare that there were no full-time roles available to its intern class. If all the Henrys in finance are anything to go by, those students may have dodged a bullet.
That's not the only big story in finance this week. After Goldman Sachs unveiled its new class of managing directors last month, Citi has now promoted its own class too. While Goldman's 2025 class was one of its largest, Citi had its smallest class since Jane Fraser took the reins.
276 people were promoted to MD at Citi, down from 344 last year. Other promotion classes under Fraser have tended to be around 300 people, so you could see this as the pendulum swinging in the opposite direction after a big year. It's also worth noting that prior to Fraser's arrival, 220 promotions was the norm, so it's not nearly as small as it could have been. Some divisions came off much better than others, and some, naturally, came off much worse. The divisions that had the smallest year-on-year change in MDs was, fascinatingly, Citi's banking and wealth divisions. Both teams are undergoing massive overhauls under Viz Raghavan and Andy Sieg respectively, both of whom have had their share of drama. Raghavan has faced criticism from incumbent Citi bankers for making a large number of external hires, particularly from JP Morgan, where he used to work. Andy Sieg, meanwhile, has faced accusations which Citi insists it's thoroughly investigated that he behaved harshly to senior female colleagues. The comparatively high number of promotions in these teams may be an attempt to placate disgruntled mid-level bankers amid a time of great change. Technology was one of the worst affected of Citi's major divisions, as the number of promotions almost halved from 27 to just 15. Curiously, none of the new MDs joined Citi through its graduate program, with the majority coming from other banks, including hires from Barclays, JP Morgan, and even Credit Suisse from back when Credit Suisse was still a thing. The bank's lack of love for tech this year may have been influenced by the increased adoption of agentic AI across the bank, limiting the demand for developers working on other projects. How did Citi's promotion class compare to Goldman Sachs though? Factoring in that Goldman's promotions happen biannually, Goldman's class was equivalent to 0.67% of total headcount, while Citi's was just 0.12%. Citi's MDs spent more years working at the bank prior to their promotions, but curiously, a smaller proportion of Citi MDs joined the bank as trainees. Citi also promoted slightly more women proportionally than Goldman Sachs.
Separately, firing bankers and traders is already much trickier in London than it is in the States, but it's about to get a lot trickier. The FT reports that the UK government is planning to allow employees to claim unlimited compensation when suing their employers for unfair dismissal.
As it stands, the most that you can receive for unfair dismissal is £118,000, which, when you're a senior employee at a bank, isn't really that much. Sometimes those employees have to resort to creative tactics to get more compensation. David Fotheringham, former head of automated fixed income trading at Barclays, sued the bank for unfair dismissal after he was fired in 2016. Rather than take the pay, which was at an even lower cap of £84,000 back then, he demanded that the bank rehire him as a quote-unquote data expert on £149,000 instead. Ian Weir, a trader unfairly dismissed by Citi in 2021, attempted the same approach. This wasn't the norm, of course, but when it did happen, it created a very unusual environment where a bank didn't want to have the employee and the employee didn't really want to be there. Soon that will apparently be a thing of the past.
And while junior bankers struggle financially, staff at the major electronic trading firms are having no such problem. Jane Street recently increased its spending in the third quarter of 2025 by 63%, paying $1.94 billion in just 3 months alone.
While we don't know Jane Street's exact headcount, it appears to have over 3,000 employees, which places average pay at just over $600,000 for those 3 months alone. Citadel Securities, which has 1,700 staff, paid an average of just over $500,000 in that same time period. The culture and pay structure at these two firms is very different, however. Citadel Securities is known to reward high performers, meaning that $500,000 was likely not distributed evenly. Jane Street, meanwhile, has been described as communist for paying its traders based on the performance of the whole firm rather than any individual strategy. Other firms in the space are known to be very generous with their pay. We don't know exact global figures, but accounts released in the UK via Companies House show us at least how much their London employees are earning. Hudson River Trading paid £940,000 on average in 2024 to an entity employing its quants and traders. Quadrature, a secretive London-based trading firm, paid its staff £2.8 million each last year. XTX Markets, another UK firm, paid £19.9 million on average to its 30 partners. Working at these firms seemingly makes you exempt from identifying as a Henry. Thank you for watching The Coffee Run. If you want to receive daily news updates on stories like these, click the link below to subscribe to Morning Coffee, our newsletter that breaks down the biggest stories in banking and financial services from Monday to Friday every week. Next Friday, we'll be back looking at one of those stories in more detail and letting you know other important stories you might have missed. If you want to see more of The Coffee Run, like this video and subscribe to the channel.